voice addressed to him by his Hebrew name, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? That encounter changed Paul's life forever. It makes clear that Paul was convinced that right there, outside of Damascus, he had seen the risen Lord. For after listing the other witnesses to the resurrection, Paul adds, last of all, as to one born abnormally, he appeared to me. And then remembering the man that he had been before that encounter that changed his life, Paul declares, I am the least of the apostles, not fit even to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. Peter's unforgettable, life-changing experience came when Jesus asked him to do something that violated everything that Peter knew about the activity that was his livelihood, catching fish. After a discouraging night of toil on the lake, the nets coming back empty over and over again, until Peter and his companions were bone weary, Jesus tells Peter to try again in broad daylight. Peter knew that it would be an exercise in futility. Master, we have worked hard all night and caught nothing. Then perhaps to humor Jesus, Peter says, but at your command, I will lower the nets. Peter's willingness to do the unthinkable enabled him to experience the impossible. No sooner had he started to pull in the nets than he discovered that they had grown heavy with fish. Peter's reaction to this astonishing event, indeed miraculous event, is very similar to Isaiah's reaction to his awesome vision of the Lord. Woe is me, Isaiah cried. I am doomed, for I am a man of unclean lips, living among people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. In the simpler language of the working man, Peter says the same. Throwing himself at the feet of Jesus and with the fish flopping all around the boat, Peter can only blurt out, depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. To which Jesus responds with the words of reassurance, do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men. At that moment, Peter's entire life changed. And Luke tells us they brought their boats to the shore and left everything to follow him. Dramatic experiences like those of Isaiah and Peter are rare. What is not rare, however, is how common it is that as we are passing through life, we meet obstacles. Our plans and our expectations are shattered. A sudden block is in our path. With each of these experiences, these three men came upon an unforgettable moment. But they realized that unforgettable moment and made that a part of their life because it brought them something new. Perhaps there is someone here this morning that is passing through such a crisis. Your life seems to be coming apart at the seams. You cannot see the way ahead. All the plans you have made have been frustrated. All your hopes have been demolished. You do not know which way to turn. If that or any part of that is your story, then listen. The Lord has good news for you. Times of crisis are always times of opportunity, times of growth. Sometimes the only way that God can get at us is by breaking us or allowing us to be broken. To set us on the right path, God must sometimes block the path that we're on, even if it is in itself a good path. We all want success, yet failure can teach us much more than success. Through the grace of God, I have known many successes in my life, but I have also experienced humiliating failures. Without doubt, I can tell you that I have learned more from the failures than I have learned from the successes. To be beaten down by failure can teach us about personal resources that we never knew we had. And it can truly bring us closer to God, who may be calling us to turn in a different direction. What looks to us as the end of all our hopes, the destruction of every plan, may be the Lord's summons to a closer, if more difficult, walk with him. Within that context of being called to that closer walk with God, an essential person is the pastor of a parish. The Pope represents our Lord Jesus Christ. Bishops represent the Pope. Pastors represent the bishop. And their first and most important job is to lead you, their people, into a deeper experience of the Lord. That may involve change. That may involve leaving things behind. The Lord does not promise us that life will be easy, but he does promise us that he will always be with us and guide us home. It is the role of a pastor to guide his people to Jesus. And it is the role of a pastor to deepen the experience of his people in the one mission of Jesus, to love God and to love neighbor. As Father Augustino stands before you this morning, he takes on officially that role and that responsibility. But he cannot do that without your support and your prayers. Walk with him and allow him to show you the human face of God in Jesus Christ. And when you face difficulties, as are inevitable, stand together rather than apart, and allow the Lord to take you places you never imagined you could be. Put out into deep water, Jesus said to Peter. He is saying the very same thing to each one of us this morning. Leave the shallow waters near the shore. Forsake what is familiar and secure for the challenge of the unknown and the deep. Dare, like Peter, to do the unthinkable. Then we, like him, can experience the impossible.